What up, y'all? It's your boy R to the A to the S. Yes, Rise here with Perceivable Cost Blog. Day to do a reaction video to the first single off Andy Mineo's Uncomfortable album. Of course, the single is the title itself, Uncomfortable. Um, Obviously, this is going to be the biggest album of 2015 as far as whatever you want to call the genre or subgenre. It's going to be the biggest album this year, sale-wise. We know what he did last time, sale-wise, and the question is going to be, is it going to top that? Is it going to equal that? What's going to happen? And I'm curious, just like everybody else, to see, what place is it going to take? What is this album going to sell? Like, how much attention is this album going to receive in mainstream rap? Not just among the fans, the 116 fans or whatever, Christian rap fans, but how much attention is this going to receive outside of those fans? We don't know. Interesting, of course, is the direction he chose with this album. No rap collaborations. We know that this is a trend in hip-hop in general, where we have albums like J. Cole and people that, well, I don't know, Kendrick has some, well, he had very few collaborations, right? Little to very few collaborations, and these albums have been successful. Of course, Lecrae did something similar where he only had Andy Mineo. Now Andy Mineo is having no rap collaborations. So this is interesting move, and that gets me to thinking with thoughts like, what is his overall goal? A lot of people, when they think of Reach, they pretty much clump them together, and I personally don't think it's that fair. I don't think that everybody in some sense, of course, they're going to follow Lecrae's lead, but I don't think that they all have the same goal in that sense in terms of quote unquote mainstream crossover. Because if he did, it would seem like he would try to do some things a little bit more direct to be accessible to that mainstream audience. Now, obviously, in some sense, he did with, hooking up with Illmind. Now, I read on Rapzilla that he actually executive produced. I don't know. But if he did, that's interesting. Which, talking about the future of the album, certainly that's going to give this album a different sound. And it's not going to sound like a quote-unquote Reach record. And y'all know, if you watch my reviews, you know what I mean by that. So obviously that's good, a different direction. I mean, he's going to work with some of the same producers, but at the same time, sonically, direction-wise, it's going to be something different. Speaking of collaborations, obviously with the singers, you think about that crossover appeal. Some of the people are, I don't recognize their names. The John guy, I don't know how to pronounce his brother name, but obviously he's, from what I'm saying, people know who he is. I don't, but he's obviously a hit in the pop world, I'm assuming. Then you got this Matt Powell. I'm not familiar, but what I read online, he's a CCM artist or country artist, something like that. You got Willow Stevens. I looked up her stuff. She actually has a good voice from the stuff I've heard, but she's not that popular. So that's interesting. You didn't choose her because of her namesake. And then you got, of course, Molly Music, which is more R&B, but if you listen to his album, you can tell he's a Christian. Of course, some things we gotta look at in this as well is a sophomore slump. Okay, what if this album does not live up to what we think it's going to be? You know what I'm saying? How is that going to affect things? I mean, there are just so many questions, and of course it'll be answered in about a month, but I'm definitely interested to see what's going to happen. Now, obviously, similar to last album's EP, you got a pattern here. Sort of like I'm assuming, is it the first song of the album? Let me look. I think I got the track list in here. Yes, similar to last time. Neverland was the first single. Neverland was the lead single. You got the same thing here. Uncomfortable is the name of the album. Uncomfortable is the lead single. Of course, the differences is, there was collaboration with the singer. He's doing a hook on here himself. But interesting that he puts his first single as, the first song from the album. Now, this single is not a quote-unquote radio-friendly single in that sense. He even addresses sort of that point in the first verse where he talks about, what I'm saying, it's not made for the trunks. Even though, well, we'll get into that later. I know what he means by that, but it's definitely made for the trunks. But interesting, he didn't go the pop route. He didn't go the You Can't Stop Me route, that big hit. And usually Reach doesn't do that anyway. For some reason, their first song is usually not their most popular song when they release. So, obviously, we're going to see more what the album sounds like whatever the second single is. The first verse, it's pretty much what you would expect from Andy Mineo, what I call the Tim Keller rap. The subject matter reminds me of something that, a gospel talk that Tim Keller would do. So I call it Tim Keller rap. So it's pretty much what you would expect. Again, lumping Reach together, I don't see, like people complained about with Lecrae that, it was some of his songs weren't, like All I Need Is You wasn't a, quote unquote explicitly, Christian song. But with this first verse, I don't see how he's quote unquote hiding his Christianity, what some people accuse Lecrae of, whatever. But I don't. If you feel that way, definitely I would like to hear that. How, if you hear this song, how is he hiding his Christianity? Because that some people accuse them of that. I don't see how you can hear this first verse and some of the things he says can accuse him of hiding his Christianity. It's pretty clear to me, but I'm amazed at some of the stuff I see online. Second verse, pretty much some of the lines on here is pretty much the trend in hip hop today, and that is activism rap, talking about racial issues, things of that sort, political issues. Of course, for him, and we're not afraid to talk about race on here. Him being a white rapper is going to carry a different weight because we know that the majority of people who buy his music are the 20-something, white Christian kids or whatever. So that's going to give them, something a little bit to think about when he talks about, my own people, but they don't own that. So that's pretty uncomfortable, to go with the thing. But that's good to see him even, address these issues and not just black artists addressing these issues. And of course, the most uncomfortable line, now I'm going to be honest, I'm not even going to say the word, but when he says, the guy hates black and blank line, I was shocked at that. Now, of course, I'm not saying he said it, of course, in support of it. He obviously listened to the verse. But I was pretty shocked that he said the word. In this culture, that's the way, I'm not saying it's equivalent, but the way that this culture views that word, it's like the N-word to them. I'm saying it's like that to the culture. I'm not saying it is equal to that. But that's the way the culture views. So for him to even say the word, I was like, whoa. That was kind of shocking. that he even said the word. So that was definitely uncomfortable. I was shocked by that. So I give him credit because I don't know too many artists that would even say that word. Christian, even non-Christians that would say that word now in these days and times. But for him to even say it, I was pretty shocked. So again, I recognize, he was saying he apologized, for Christians having no signs. I'm not saying he said it in a derogatory way. So please don't write me on some stupid stuff. Some of y'all, brain, kind of delayed. But yeah, I was shocked by that. I mean, production-wise, beat is dope. They're saying Illmind produced it. Definitely feeling his drums on here, man. The bass, everything. Even though I didn't buy the pre-order. I'm going by what I heard on YouTube by how it bangs in the car. You know what I'm saying? I like the piano. The hook is fine as well. I wasn't used to the hook at first, but you listen to it more and more. I'm fine with it singing on here. That's cool. Nothing wrong with that. So that's my reaction. Love to hear yours. What you looking forward to with this album? What are your questions about the album? I threw out some stuff. Love to hear yours. We'll see. We'll call some ball. Kobe sucks, and I'm out.